Welcome back to episode 2. Now, here we go. We're on to switches now. Now that the fridge is shut up. We have 5 of these long switches and 1 little reset. Now the reset switch goes in. Now I say this is orientated differently, so to make sure this goes in the right way. So it would be too wide. Taking it off camera again, I know. Too wide that way, so obviously it fits in this way. Hopefully it's not too boring with me taking this off camera so much. So you want to feed these little legs in, which is easy. Oh, come on. Get in with you. There we go. So, clicky in place. It seems fairly nice and secure. So that little switch is in there. Now we have to dab some solder onto you. There you go. It's a nice clean board, so everything's running well. So we got the switch into place. And now for these long ones, which probably be best to do in situ, one each. So they go naturally that way round, and that way they wouldn't line up at all. So it's all fairly self-explanatory. We've got one in place. As that's the tall component upside down, we will just dab one leg with solder. Just check that's fully seated. Once you've got one leg done, it should hold it in. There we go. Next thing. Actually, as these are sitting, locking into place, so I'll probably just pop them in all. I can see a little leg bent under there, which is probably in shipping, so I want to just level that out before pushing that down. Make sure all the legs are through. Should really pretend this is like a live stream and I'm reading from the screen. I could say things like, "Hey, Davista, thank you for joining me," you know. "Oh yeah, very kind," and who else we got joining? Julian Lett, yeah. Thank you for that. Oh, just got our first donation. £1,000. But no, this is not a live stream. So that's all the legs. What I'll do is just top them. It's a bit top and bottom there, but shouldn't matter too much. Clean up that one. Just checking that they're all true and straight. Look good. Eyeball. Do it that way round. What we got here? We've got this one. Never want a dry joint. Don't have to worry about tinning your iron beforehand. There we go. So that's all switches in. Looks good. What else we got? We got electrolytic capacitor next. I've got all the parts laid out. Now, electrolytic capacitors have a input and output, is the best way of thinking of it. The output is always marked by the negative line there. So the flow of electrons will go in the long leg and out the short leg. Very similar to sort of a diode. So let's actually cut that leg off short, or the same length, so we can test the capacity of this. You're still in camera angle. This is 103.2. The ESR of 0.85 ohms and the voltage loss to 1.5%. 103. Let's see if my eyes can read how much this is. So this is a 100 puff. So that's slightly over. They will be fine, and that should go up here. So this one's marked with a minus mark, and you've got the grey minus mark there. It's off camera. That should push down nicely. So that's nicely there. Actually, one of the components higher than the switch, so it's not naturally sitting in. But we've had a little bit of solder and check he's okay. Just check your work while the things are done. Why you still got the legs on? Cut the legs off. To cut the legs off the what do they call that? A crystal oscillator? Okay, soon populating onward. Now we're ready for the 5 thumb wheels. To prepare them, bend the single unused pin upwards, as shown in the photo. So I have to investigate that. So here's the 5 thumb wheels. And I see single pin up ways. So if we get some pliers and just so there we go. Let's do that for each one. So you want to be just gentle with these components. It can take quite a beating sometimes, but I've seen components go bad, especially when reworking a board You like sort of taking components on and off. Too much heat, you get pads lifting and components going rather strange. So bend the single unused pin upwards as shown in the photo. It should still be angled outwards, maybe 5 or 10 degrees. No, wait, 5 or 10 degrees, I think that's about right. So on the picture, did that pick up? Now insert the first wheel into the PCB as sewn, and then gently fold up the wheel until it's vertical, keeping the pins fully seated in the hole in the PCB as you do this. When you let go, the wheel will spring back slightly from vertical, which is fine. Then repeat 4 other wheels. Don't solder them yet, it says. We're going to temporarily install the acrylic cover plate to hold them in perfect alignment. Oh, I see. So pop in these boys. They all sit into the holes. We need to bend them up each one. Oops. Strange sort of skeletal resistors with a skeletal variable resistors with a rather large fun wheel. Not seen components like this before. I've seen skeletal resistors, but what was such a large I say that covers the LED. You've got LEDs in place yet, have we? No. That's the 5 wheels. Now it says about protective cover. So we have the rather hairy protective cover here. I won't take off the top cover just yet. 4 screws and attach the hex nuts. So we have the hex nut bag here. So put back into the bag the components that aren't needed. So that is the 2 little nylon washer bits. Looks like the ring for the headphone. Now we have excess screws, so we only need 4 of them. They look like a small M3. Could be 2.5s. No, the M3. Actually, it'd probably be easier to take off this now. Otherwise, I'm going to be mucking around. Come on now, it's not let me down. One hour later. Ah dear. There we go. 1 month later. So screws through here, and then hex nuts on the back. We're covering this in a liberal amount of fingerprints and grease. We're still recording okay? come from the soldering iron. Okay, so we now have the attached. Now position the cover over buttons and wheels and gently guide each thumb wheel so the small pin unit you bent up engages into the tiny hole in the acrylic. Oh, I see, it does. So, yeah. Kind of works. So gradually be able to lower the cover plate down until the stands off are almost touching the PCB. Don't force it down. Oh, I see, the stands off are almost covered. The small plate to which each thumb wheel is mounted should extend into the short slot of the cover plate, held firmly against the back of the slot by the pin. Now you can insert all 4 remaining screws into the bottom of the PCB, pulling the cover plate down and securing the thumb wheels. Make sure that wheels are aligned. Not necessarily twist them about a bit. So this doesn't actually reach. Now position the cover plate over button wheels. Gently guide each thumb wheel so the small pin that you bent upward engages into a tiny hole in the acrylic. You will gradually be able to lower the cover plate down until the standoffs are almost touching the PCB. Don't force the cover plate down if it won't go. It probably means that one of the pins isn't engaged properly. Really? So he's saying that this PCB will click in eventually. So, having a little bit problem with this at the moment. As you can see, I've taken off the thumb wheels, and you see the 5 holes here should marry up with the 5 holes for the switches. Now if we put in the switches, line them up, these holes are basically extremely tight for the things. Now we're just working our way through now, but you see the board is almost, or is flat, but that will click down. That one's clicky. This one 90% of the time. That one's completely dead. That one's clicky, and that one clicky. So the middle hole. So what I've been doing is opening up the holes slightly. I did try a drill bit, but that passed straight through. But I have a round file which I'm just passing through and turning in the perspex. Of course, being careful. Maybe when these were drilled, milled, laser cut or whatever. For a home kit, you would think surely I haven't missed something. You can actually see the sort of witness marks of the stuff around. So put these back through. So it looks like the last two I've got problems with. So 1, clicky clicky clicky, 2, fine, 3 is fine, 4 is dead, and so is just about actually. But 4 will need a little bit more work. If I had wider selection of drill bits, you could pass in a about a 3mm hole, so that'd be about a 3 point. If you had a 3.1 drill bit, but drill bits aren't always that exact. Now this could be from a couple of problems. One, whatever tool was used to drill that could be a little bit out of spec. The switches could be a little bit out of spec. Or it could be a combination of drill bit a little bit too small and switches a little bit too fat. But I thought I'd just make a video of this to see how that goes. So that falls back on. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 90%. Screw holes all line up. So just number 5, staying alive. Clean out those holes. Give this a go. Slips on, nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now I should be able to carry on. What I'll do is, this is a little fill-in extra video. So I will now get on with the thumb wheels and see how that takes me. Okay, so if you have the same problems with sticky switches, you need a nice slender needle file, and just take your time and be gentle. So this is video 2.1, I believe. Duty paid. Take care. Goodbye.